Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday afternoon. Now, before we get into the video, as always, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. We are close to 500 subscribers. So again, I always say this is a really, really small milestone for our channel. But if you can help us get to 500 subscribers, we appreciate that 100%. Don't forget to hit that Linktree link in the description as well. That will take you to all the social accounts and our podcast episodes. Again, if you haven't already done that, again, please make sure you go there and you like the social accounts and you can go back and listen to the podcast episodes that we've recorded previously. Now, last night was a game, literally a game of two halves, a game where we have to credit Maresca. We have to credit certain individuals in our team, but there's still so many mistakes to talk about. And we are going to try and talk through some of those mistakes. But before we get on to yesterday's match, I want to talk about a couple of transfer related stories and also something that has just blew my mind about Stamford Bridge yesterday. But let's talk about some of the transfers. We now know that Ben Chilwell has completed a loan move to Crystal Palace. That means Ben Chilwell, I think theoretically, Barrow, I think, was the last time we will see Chelsea, Ben Chilwell representing Chelsea in a Chelsea shirt, which is a shame because I feel like Ben Chilwell still has a lot to offer at Chelsea. He really did. You know, he was a player that fell out of favour with a lot of the owners. And obviously due to his high wages, some of the managers weren't keen on him. Maresca wasn't keen on him. But we have to credit Ben Chilwell because he didn't come out and make any noise. He hasn't made any cryptic posts. He hasn't come out and spoke publicly about his time at Chelsea and the lack of game time he's got. He's just got on with his training. And I feel like Crystal Palace are getting a really good player. I know they've got Tariq Mitchell that can play left back for them. But I feel we've, again, as I said about Chelsea in certain areas, when you've got players that can offer competition in those areas, it's always good to have other options. And to be honest, I think Tariq Mitchell, again, I think he can play the right side. He can play maybe as a centre back, a left-sided centre back. And Ben Chilwell, you know, credit to him. Let's hope he has a good loan move. You know, I think he's still relatively young. I know there was a lot of mixed opinions amongst the Chelsea fan base, but I feel like this is a really good move for Ben Chilwell. I think it's one of those moves that suits him in terms of his, you know, rejuvenating his career and trying to get his career up and running again. But also it helps us get someone off the wage bill that clearly was a problem for the owners for the next couple of months or so, at least as a minimum. But Axel Disasi, another one. I can already hear the applauds, the cheers, the champagne popping from a lot of Chelsea fans. Now, I'm going to say this about Axel Disasi. I feel like with the right manager, like Unai Emery, he might get the best out of Axel Disasi. Now, we have to remember Axel Disasi will be potentially playing European football, I believe, in Champions League in terms of what he's able to contribute to Villa's hopes of getting somewhere in the Champions League in the knockout stages. But we know that he's prone to mistakes as well. So I think it was always inevitable Axel Disasi was going to leave Chelsea in this window. He'd obviously clearly turned down Spurs a number of times. The deal looked like it was off with Aston Villa earlier on yesterday in the day, but they got that deal done whilst we were playing our match against West Ham last night. And I'll be honest, again, it's another one where I feel like Axel Disasi, it makes sense for him to leave. You know, he's down the pecking order under Maresca. You know, you'd probably look at maybe Wesley Fofana, Badia Shiel, even Josh Ashiempong potentially before him. We've recalled Trevor Chalobah back from Crystal Palace. So there was always going to be players ahead of Axel Disasi before he got a moment to even step foot on the pitch for us. So it makes sense. I'm hoping it can be put into a permanent deal. I don't see another gateway back for him. I'll be very surprised if we see Axel Disasi playing for us again. You know, he's someone that we've seen make so many mistakes at the club so far as his time at Chelsea. So I think he's one of those players that will just thank you for your time, thank you for your services. It's time to move on. It's a shame that it didn't work out, but it is what it is. We have to move on from that now. Now, we didn't bring anyone else in over that window of great magnitude. We have signed one or two key players, one or two young, not even key, one or two young players at the squad. There's no recalling of Andre Santos, which was potentially on the cards. We did recall David Datro Fofana from his loan spell in Turkey. We obviously recalled Trevor Chalobah. So we haven't dipped into the market and that now, based on yesterday's game, is a bit more of a concern because you look at the injury potentially to Nicholas Jackson. Mark Gu came off at the end, went down at full time. It looks like he might have done his groin or a hamstring injury as well. So it does make you question, have, all these players that we've signed, as I keep saying on here, the 35 players that we've signed over the last 2.5 years. What do we do now if both our number nines are out? This is why you have to go and get someone like Victor Gyökeres or Osimhen or any other striker, because at the moment we look potentially like we're going to lose one, maybe two of our number nines for the foreseeable if those injuries are bad as they looked last night. Now, I was watching the game from the comfort of my house last night. Now, Dharmesh, who's recently joined the podcast, and Theo were both at Stamford Bridge. You know my stance on that already. I cannot give these owners a pound or a penny of my money until things are better on that. Not even just on the pitch, until things make sense commercially from this side, until we resolve things like the front of shirt sponsor, until we're not being exploited. And I know there were protests yesterday before the game at Stamford Bridge around the ticket prices that the owners have clearly increased slightly, but not just that. I think there was a good piece that Eunice Talks Football did recently, where he spoke about the ticketing in terms of virtual waiting room, which I've been a victim of that so many times over the seasons. But he done a very good piece, Eunice, on the ticketing and the virtual waiting room, and the fact that a lot of these tickets now are being held back by the club to sell as hospitality corporate seats, to be included in corporate packages for traveling fans far and far and wide, not for the local Chelsea fans, not for the fans that actually have memberships and want to try and get to games. And I think until that changes, my stance will be the same. I can't contribute to that. I can't contribute to something I am that strongly about. I want to buy the kits. I want to buy the away kit this season. I want to buy the limited edition kit that just recently came out. I want to buy those kits, but I can't, out of principle. Now, I was watching the game from the comfort of my house, as I said before. I get sent a video by Theo, and it's a DJ, a halftime DJ at Stamford Bridge. Could you get any more American? These owners, I keep talking about them because it's a big thing, and we have to keep the spotlight on these owners. These owners do not care about this club. And that's facts. That's not my opinion. That's not a matter of opinion or nothing. That is factual stuff. I'm telling you, they do not give a shit about the owner, about the club. The ownership is not bothered about ticket prices, about loyal fans that have been trying to get season tickets or want to be part of the membership group and try and get tickets through the virtual waiting room. They do not give a shit about those people. They care about bums on seats, money. They're even bringing out another training top today. They only brought one out last week to celebrate the Chinese New Year. There's another one coming out already. These guys don't care about bringing in the correct players. They care about bringing through youth products that they can sell on for a profit and make sure that they sustain some form of profit from each sale that they're making. Now, that's a good business model to have if you've got the spine in your team already, which we know we haven't got. We've spoken about that already, but our halftime DJ, it will not be long, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, before we see £300 tickets going on general sale, £400 tickets going on general sale. We see further merchandise coming out before we even address anything in terms of transfers on the pitch. That's the problem with this club. That is the problem with this club. Halftime DJ. What are we doing? This is not Glastonbury. Now, some of you will be too young to remember this, but when the Premier League first kicked off, 1992, there was cheerleaders. There was entertainment in the games, because if you recall, they wanted to Americanize the Premier League. They wanted to be like Americans. They wanted to have halftime shows. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a taster. Now, apparently the Chelsea pitch owners or the groups that are representing Chelsea from a fan's perspective came out and said, because this isn't the first time we've had the DJ at Stamford Bridge. It happened a couple of months ago now. And the Stamford Bridge, the groups, the fans, the fan groups, they addressed that with the owners and said, we do not want DJs at Stamford Bridge. This is not Glastonbury. And what do the owners go and do a couple of months later? They bring back another DJ. Bearing in mind, at the time when this DJ is playing, we're 1-0 down against West Ham, a struggling West Ham with Graham Potter in charge. It's mental. It's crazy. What are we doing? We should be investing the money in other things. You know, we get to see Central C and all these other famous musicians come to the ground and take pictures with them, and it's all PR now. It's all PR. It's all how can we make more money and squeeze more money out of the club that we all support. And until things change, until we start standing up to these owners, until we stop going to the games, boycotting games, until we start actually addressing things that hit their pockets, nothing will change with these owners. We can cry to the cows come home that we want a decent, prolific goal scorer, and we want a really good goalkeeper, and we want a good midfielder, we want a good centre back. Until we stop going to these games, I can guarantee you 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds are going to be coming through that door at Cobham. And that's it. That will be it. Think about our last real signing, a leader. We can't even say Enzo or Caicedo with that because they were potentials. We bought them based on potential, not because we know they're guaranteed to do the job for us. When was our last player that we actually signed? A Eden Hazard, a Diego Costa, a Didier Drogba? Where was the last one of them? A guaranteed starter in the team every single time. Now, I'm not saying that Caicedo hasn't performed well and Enzo hasn't performed well this season and Cole Palmer hasn't performed well, but we didn't know that when we signed them. We're reaping the rewards of them playing well. But when we signed them, we didn't know that. When you sign Victor Gyökeres, you're very confident he's going to score 15 to 20 goals a season. If you sign Alexander Isak, you know what you're getting for your money. We haven't signed anyone of proven quality in years at this club. In years. And lo and behold, last night proved that. Let's get into the game. Let's get into our review of the game now. Of course, we did speak about whether Jurgensen and Sanchez, the whole dilemma that Maresca would have before kickoff against West Ham last night. Would he drop Sanchez? And to credit Maresca, he did. He put Jurgensen in goal. Had some very nervy moments in the game, Jurgensen. He didn't look very comfortable first 30 minutes into the game. His distribution was poor. It just didn't look like he was comfortable in front of goal. Me personally, I'm putting that down to, nerves. He hasn't really played that much football for us over the last couple of weeks. So I just put that down to nerves. But I was still more confident with Jurgensen in goal than I was with Robert Sanchez. So the lesser of two evils was in goal for us last night. Now, Reece James started the game with Tosin, Colwell and Marc Cucurella as our left back. We had the two midfield of Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. We started with Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer in the 10. And on the left side of the attack, we had Jadon Sancho with Nicholas Jackson up front. Now, it was always going to be a tricky game. We knew, as we spoke about it in our preview, it was going to be a tricky game. We knew that West Ham were going to come off on the front foot and attack us very early on in the game. They had some really good chances. We knew that Wan-Bissaka and Emerson were going to be bombing up and down that field and making it difficult for us to get forward with Cucurella. One of the things I was not impressed with in the first half was how negative we were in terms of our passing, backwards passing, sideways passing, just never no conviction going forward. And whenever we did get the opportunity to go forward with Jadon Sancho or Noni Madueke, there was no real options in the box. It was just Nicholas Jackson or maybe Caicedo on waiting on the edge of the box. There was no real penetration into the box at all from us in that first half. And then, of course, the mistake. I mean, as I said, the passing from the back to the keeper, which results 42 minutes into the game, Levi Colwell. Now, we've got to have honest opinions about Levi Colwell because if you look back to all the goals that we've conceded this season, I would say maybe at least 4, maybe 5 of those are because of Colwell playing a striker on side or just a misplaced pass or something. But last night's was unforgivable because you don't even need to make that pass, Levi Colwell. You could make the pass to Tosin. You could turn, half turn, look down the other side on the left side. Now he's looking for a foul, which I thought was really soft. He was never going to get the foul, but he also doesn't look where he's passing the ball. And I think one of the things that Gianfranco Zola on Monday Night Football stated yesterday and highlighted was that you don't pass to goal, you pass across the goal. You don't pass to goal. Um, it was just a misplaced pass, but it was a lapse in concentration, and that's a lot of our goals this season. Think where we would be in the league if we hadn't had lapses in concentration, or we didn't make costly mistakes at the back. We'd be talking about maybe second or third and comfortably talking about the top four now. Um, it was just we just didn't show enough, and I think we were very narrow. You know, Cucurella was dropping into his sort of an inverted role. He wasn't utilizing the space down the side, the left side of the pitch, and then it just didn't work for us at all. Now, Maresca was very, for me personally, was very smart. And it's one of the things that Chelsea fans have been crying out for. We go in at half time, 1-0 down. Of course, the Chelsea fans had the lovely DJ there to, keep the mood going and until the second half kicked off. But when the second half kicks off, Maresca 5 minutes into it. Now, this is one of the things I personally have been crying out for and been talking about Maresca being able to adapt and change things in game tactically. He done it spot on. Isn't working. Let's make the changes. He brings on Mark Gu for Nicholas Jackson, takes off Jadon Sancho, who again was very ineffective in that first half, and brings on Pedro Neto. Now, automatically, you see the change. You see a slight shift in change. I'm not saying, Mark Gu was brilliant or trying to, take shots on or any of that, but he done a lot more, in my opinion, the pressing, the chasing down the lost cause, making something happen, putting West Ham defenders under a little bit more pressure than Nicholas Jackson had. And the same from Kunku again. He didn't have the best of games, but it changed things. It allowed Cucurella to go on the wider areas. And eventually we get the goal. Pedro Neto was panicking to the box. Lovely sort of flick back from Cucurella over. And Neto first to respond to the ball. Now, there was obviously a lot of VAR stuff in between that, which was, for me, a whole heap of nonsense. But we go on, we crack on, we push on for another goal. Not so long after that. Now, again, you could see that we were utilizing the space down the left and the right side a little bit more. And eventually we get the goal. On comes off Reece James, 60 minutes in, with Noni Madueke. Christopher Nkunku comes in, Malo Gusto. And we actually look like we're going to attack. We've got bodies in the box. We're crossing the ball into key areas now. Now, Cole Palmer would potentially say it was a shot on target. It was clearly a cross, but it takes a heavy deflection off Wan-Bissaka into the goal over Areola's head. But it was what we needed. There was no way we could walk off that pitch without the 3 points last night, because we deserved it in the end. The first half was really poor, but we utilised the space. West Ham were always going to try and kick on and get that goal to go 2-1 ahead, and we knew they were going to leave space for us to run into. It was just the game was set up for us to get that. Now, there's a stroke of luck in both of those goals, because, as I say, the first one was heavily VAR'd and potential offside, and then there was I think there was a foul in the build-up from Levi Colwell on Jared Bowen as well, in the build-up to that first goal. The second goal takes a wicked deflection as well. But one of the key things I want to praise Enzo Maresca for, and I'm going to show you guys what he did. Because in my opinion, and I called it from before we kicked off. Now, if you look at the lineup we have on the screen here, this is the exact lineup that we went with. To end the game. Now, Trevor Chalobah comes on for Cole Palmer very late, I think 90 minutes into the game. Let's take that donut out the team, as it was Jurgensen in goal. But we went to a back five. And we had to go to a back five because if you looked at the game, Kudus was still attacking. Jared Bowen was still attacking. They were, I think, the young kid Scales was trying to get forward as well, as much as he could with the ball. Danny Ings, another one. They bring it on. West Ham brought on their attackers to try and claw something back in the game. But if you notice what Maresca done, he took off Cole Palmer, he brings on Trevor Chalobah, who should not have been dropped, in my opinion. He put in two solid performances against City earlier on in the month, but we then go to a back five. I generally think maybe Maresca was testing this out to see how the team plays. Maybe it was just a case of seeing out the game. You know, you put your extra centre back on, it sees out the game. Very tactical move, very good defensive move from Maresca. But what I will say, I would love to have seen this lineup. Maybe not with these players, but tactically set up with the five at the back. Because when we come up against a team like West Ham, who make it difficult for us to penetrate into the box, work the ball into the box, you have to have other options. And I think with a team like this, Gusto or Reece James, whoever it is, alongside Neto here, and this is where I feel like Maresca's putting too much trust in someone like Noni Madueke or Jadon Sancho, because they've had opportunities now and they haven't really taken them. They haven't looked like they're going to do anything. You know, Nani Madueke 9 out of 10 times is going to shoot with either his left foot and it's going to go over the bar, or it's going to go straight down into the keeper's hands. Jadon Sancho's got the trickery, but hasn't got the ball in the quality enough to deliver the ball into the box. So again, we've got Nkunku. We have Neto. We could use Jackson or Mark Gu, whichever. You know, we have players. We've obviously lost João Felix now, who's gone on loan to AC Milan. But you look at this here now, Cucurella will utilize his space a lot more. We saw a lot of that in the second half as opposed to the first half, where he was knocking into these places when it was a four at the back. He was dropping into this sort of area here and it just didn't work because we were so narrow that it just didn't create anything, and we're just blocking each other's progression. We're passing the ball around, we lose possession, we're tracking back. So I think when you play five at the back, it's going to give a bit more stability, first of all, for your goalkeeper, but it allows the three centre backs to almost be that line of defense before anything happens. It allows Caicedo to push up a little bit more, Enzo. It gives us a bit more control of what's happening on the pitch. I don't understand why we haven't gone with that. I feel like we've got Gusto, Reece James potentially. Even if we play Reece James as the right centre back and we play Gusto or Achiampong as the right wing back, Cucurella on the other side, it gives Nkunku probably more license, a bit more to go forward, and Neto as well, that link up play with Jackson or Gu. But we have to consider that. We really have to consider that. And I don't know whether that was Maresca potentially trialing it to see how the players got on with it. Maybe he would have done that a little bit earlier in the game if that's what he thought his intentions were, to revert back to that. But, and I said on the podcast last week, he doesn't necessarily always go with you know, I don't think he very rarely goes with five at the back, but it just gives a bit more stability. And maybe those mistakes don't happen like Levi Colwell last night if we've got three at the back, three centre backs. I don't know, but I would definitely change something, because when we changed it and we you know, we brought off Jackson very early on and Reece James as well, the whole balance of the team changed. It was a bit more fluid going forward. And I think Maresca has to look at that. He has to address it, because this is a crucial part of our season now. We can't afford to drop that many points. We're back in the top four, which is great. But when you look at the teams around us, the teams that we still have to play, you know, Nottingham Forest, last game of the season, they're crucial games. The crucial points are coming up now. So we can't afford to drop too many points, if any, at this point in the season. So for me, Maresca has to look at that. He has to address a lot of those things. Yes, we got the 3 points, which is great, but there's still so much that's concerning. Like I said at the very start of this video, for me, the owners are still a massive problem at this club. The fact that we're still making defensive mistakes, it doesn't matter who plays the centre-back roles, you know, we're still making those same mistakes and allowing teams to capitalize on that. And another thing I haven't mentioned, but I will quickly mention, is discipline, because we picked up so many stupid yellow cards yesterday over things that we could have avoided, or just, you know, Cole Palmer, for instance, with the dissent yellow card. It's just stupid things. We've got to nip that in the bud, and that's been one thing that we've always had under Potter and Pochettino of recent times. Discipline is key for this team. Stop picking up stupid yellow cards. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts were based on the game. Crucial 3 points gained, but a lot of mistakes to talk about. So leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. We are on the road to 500 subscribers. Please make sure you do that if you haven't already. And again, the Linktree link is in the description for you to be able to go back and listen to the podcast episodes or the social accounts. Make sure you follow on there as well. And until next time, we'll be back soon with the next podcast episode. Enjoy the rest of your week.